This one has to be first. This one. Jeffrey, how do you pronounce your last name?
Kennemer.
I was right. I was just making sure. I was like, I think it's Kennemer.
Jeff is best, but if you have to do Kennemer,
Oh. It is the red line on that.
Yes, I turned it on. Yes.
Here's the time. Well, it is July 13th at 12:05 p.m. July 13th, 2017. Let's call the meeting to order. And we do have a quorum. Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We have 6 action items on the agenda. The first one being the swearing in of the new board member, Mr. Jeffrey Kennemer.
And so I'm going to ask you to stand. Raise your right hand. And you are going to read. I'll let you hold it with your other hand there.
all right. I, Jeffrey Kennemer, do solemnly swear that I have not directly or indirectly paid, offered, promised to pay, contributed, or promised to contribute any money or thing of value, or promised any public office or employment for the giving or withholding of a vote at the election at which I was elected, or as a reward to secure my appointment or confirmation, whichever the case may be, so help me God.
You will sign. And then the next one, raise your right hand.
In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, I, Jeffrey Kennemer, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of UT Tyler Innovation Academy Board Member of the state of Texas and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state, so help me God.
You will sign as well. All right, awesome. Welcome to the board.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
We're very excited to welcome you, as well as want to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Humphrey for his service. We will be recognizing Mr. Humphrey at one of our parent meetings and presenting him with a small plaque showing our token of appreciation. So I'm very excited to have a new member as well, and look forward to working with you and supporting the overall improvement of the district.
Great, thank you.
Our next item is a consent agenda item, and we received the board meeting minutes from Thursday, May 4th, 2017. Any questions about the minutes? There's no question. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from May 4th? Second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Request to approve budget amendments for 2016-2017.
We received an increase in some of our federal funding, so that's what the increase in revenue is there. And then we had some expenses come up, like we purchased transportation for students for next year out of this year's budget, and we needed to find some money somewhere that we could move to the correct function to pay for that. And then we also had a couple of other expenses, like some fringe that we needed to find some other money left over somewhere else to cover that. But that's what those amendments are covering: student transportation and fringe.
Any questions about the amendment? We have a motion to approve the amendment.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Carries. Next item is request to approve adoption of 17-18 budget.
Make sure you're looking at the right one, first of all.
Oh, yes, because it's one of the amendments, make sure you look on this proposed budget for 17. The first column is, the proposed budget, and the second column is what our current budget looks like. You can see the difference in where we've increased or decreased, amounts of money and functions. And we're going to receive, $6 million in revenue, and we have about $5.9 million in expenses, budgeted.
So right now, we'll show that we will carry over a little over $168,000. Now, again, when we developed this budget, we were very conservative. I'm going to talk a little bit about our projected enrollment. Right now, we're projected at 761, and we built it off of 730. So again, that's if we maintain the 761 enrollment, you're talking about quite a bit of increase to this amount. It doesn't hurt us in any way to project it conservatively. In fact, I've always done that and recommend that. Also, we had had the opportunity now going into our 6th year, looking at developing budgets. I feel like these numbers are closer than they've ever been, and we've even put in a lot of padding in certain areas because we know as we've gone through previous years that things come up. Also adding additional pace second on Tyler campus and adding second on the other 2 campuses. Again, those are all new grade levels, as well as adding 11th grade. So we've added a little padding in there, as well as looking at just other things such as, next year we will be providing transportation to students. We just purchased 3 school buses. They're used, but 3 buses. That will be utilized to transport students. So again, not ever having to have provided transportation. When we built the budget, we looked at putting in some padding in that budget area as well. So also next year is a big year as we look to develop the virtual school. So that will be something else. We will be applying for a grant to get support with that, and feel somewhat strongly that we will possibly be accepted or approved, but that's not a guarantee. So we did build, I think, $100,000 into this budget to develop or support the virtual school, if that's the direction we decide. So there are, in my opinion, there's a lot of padding in this budget.
Yes, it's built off of 730, as she stated, with 96% attendance rate. And there's I think at our last meeting that we had, we were like at 90, at the year end was like 96 point something. I want to say 75 if I recall. So we always run between about 96 to 97% attendance for our year. And so we based it off of the 96%.
So we've got a rollover, plus we look at, having additional, and then additional rollover for next year. Any questions about any of the expenses, revenue? We did get an increase this year. We found that at the Texas Charter School Summit.
On the FSP funding.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. The FSP funding, which is the state funding that we get, it's just based off of, they redo their formulas. And so it worked out that when we did, because they don't submit the template out to schools to do their estimates until July 1. So when we were first developing this, we were having to use the 16-17 template. And so we were developing this based on that originally. And then when we finally got the 17-18 template on July 1st, and we put in our same figures of 730 students, 96%, they actually, redid the formulas where we're getting more funding per student for special programming. So that 730 at 96% on the 16-17 template versus 730 on 96% on the 17-18 template resulted in a substantial amount of, I want to say it was about $200,000 or $300,000 difference, if I recall. So that was nice that they've adjusted that.
And also, we will be a part of the UIL next year, so there's going to be additional expenses with that we've not had in the past. We in the past have just basically a UIL in-house. And when we start competing, you have the expenses of traveling as well as the expenses of registration, curriculum, and things like that. So as we grow, we have additional expenses in certain areas, especially as we step into new areas. As you can see, like I said, transportation is one that we did not budget the previous year, and this year we're looking at for having a budget in that area.
I will make a note, since Dalton's not here on the technology. I know that a large portion of that technology budget, which or instructional, it's in 11, correct?
Yes.
A large portion, or I don't want to say a large portion because it's 3.8 million, but is technology. They're buying new, obviously the devices for the K1 and the 2, whatever they're utilizing, classroom sets and things, and they're replacing iPads, from my understanding. So we have a lot of technology purchased this year to replace old and outdated devices, and then of course all the additional classrooms we're getting. So our technology budget is, substantial in that we have new students and we are replacing devices. And I know he wanted to make that clear that we're not reissuing. My understanding of some of the iPads, they're just kind of getting phased out.
So when you look at in the past, we have grown one grade per campus. This year, if you look at Tyler, we're growing 3 classrooms. If you look at
four if you count third,
classrooms,
yeah.
sorry. And you're looking at 2 classrooms on the other 2 campuses. So a lot of growth.
I did have a question about it is a small district, so one of the questions I always have when I look at the budget is the leadership administration. Seems like it is a high number. You talk to us about why the budget for leadership administration is so high for the district?
And we had a chance to visit about this, and I think this was a great question. It's been one of my biggest challenges, and I've shared this openly in several meetings. When you look at a traditional ISD in a small district, it is oftentimes located in one central location. One of the biggest challenges that we have is that we are basically a small district, but we're located in 3 separate counties. So if you compare us to a small district that's located in one location, they oftentimes would just have one building principal. Whereas now, since we are located in 3 counties, we actually have to have 3 building principals. Same thing with admins. Traditional districts would have maybe 1 or 2 admins on a campus, depending on the size. We have to have 3 admins. So everything when it comes to leadership and support services, we either have to have a full-time person that travels to support all 3 campuses, such as a diagnostician. Most small schools actually use co-ops to support their SPED services. I looked into that over the summer in order to see if it was a better place for us to be as far as looking at joining a co-op, and I learned that we have to join 3 separate co-ops in order to work with a co-op because we're in 3 separate counties. Based on that, that's not a good fit. So again, that's kind of one of the things that impacts our budget across the board. If you looked at, we would need 3 buses. I mean, we could have easily had purchased 1 school bus if we were centrally located, because we don't provide transportation to support students moving from one campus to another and to support extracurricular activity travel. So everything we do, we oftentimes have to do times 3. In fact, yesterday I was meeting with President Tidwell, and one thing that we talked about is that our administrative costs will likely not go up when we continue to add additional grades. So it's only to our benefit as we become stronger as a district and we are able to occupy better facilities that we will be able to grow additional classes. For example, have 2 first grade, 2 second grade, or even possibly 3. With that increase, doesn't mean you're going to have another school superintendent or another campus director or another diagnostician. Those people will take on additional responsibilities because of the nature of the increases. And so you may look at salary increases or adjustments, but other than that, you won't have to hire a full-time person when you start adding additional grades or additional classes.
I'll make a note on that too, that with the addition of all these additional grades that we're adding now, our administrative cost ratio actually went down. We've actually, there is a cap on what your administrative cost ratio can be, and we've always maintained under that. But as we grew, we're expecting to grow substantially this next year, that actually dropped below the standard or the guidelines for administrative costs. Right. I think it's 15%, and this year we're going to be at 11 based on these
So
numbers.
we actually cut, I do want to say that we did cut some administrative costs this year in coaching and instruction. Mr. Weaver has taken on additional roles this year. In the past, he just basically had enough duties, but he really focused on assessment 504. This year, he's actually going to be supporting a role as a coach. So he will be coaching here on the Tyler campus, working with math teachers, math students, supporting them. So he actually is taking on a dual role. Ms. Peterson is going for half-time at the I. So she will be working half-time at the I and half-time at the Ingenuity Center. So again, we've cut some costs for several reasons.
Yeah. So that administrative cost ratio should continue to go down as our enrollment numbers go up. So even as we get 12th grade and then we add KN1 on the other two campuses, we'll see that 11% go down even more next year.
So that's good. Because
Yeah.
the state
Or
average
the
is really
following
low.
year.
So when you look at this, our average with the state average,
Yeah.
state average is like 3%. So
Yeah.
okay.
Well, if you looked at putting all these students here in Tyler, we would cut 2 director
Right.
positions, we would cut 2 admin positions, we would cut probably a full-time diagnostician and make them a half-time. So again,
Right.
it really comes down to having 3 separate schools in 3 counties. Yes, sir.
What goes in, from what we see, what goes into the calculation of that ratio? What numbers expenses?
It's the 21 plus 41 over
11, 13, and 31.
Not
are
11.
all
What,
Considered, what they go,
what goes into the admin? I mean, you said the admin, the cost you say is 11%. I'll just tell you where I'm coming from.
the 11% comes from the formula is 21 plus 41. So the 60 plus the 421,000 divided by 11 plus
11, 12,
13, and
31.
31.
Where's 23?
11, 12,
23
13,
doesn't
and
fall
what?
into administrative cost.
Guidance and
Doesn't count. Doesn't fall under
So
administrative
why
cost.
do
Administrative
school
cost ratio,
leadership
not by the state's guidelines.
and superintendent costs not go into that?
Superintendent is in 41.
It is, it's inclusive of that, so that's kind of separate, okay.
Yeah, we list it out there separate because by law we have to divulge her salary. And so it makes it easy for us to put this on the website and then her salary's already there.
And so, 23, where does that go?
It's not included in the administrative cost ratio.
Why?
It's based on the state formula.
I mean, to me, that's admin, school leadership.
You would think so, but the state's formula doesn't include it.
That's just, okay.
To kind of give you the amount in 21 is for our Director of Student Services, which is basically special programming. And then 41 consists of Joanne, myself, Christian, and all of our central office expenses. Christian Finance.
You're
I'm a director of the central office, basically.
Right.
So
And
y'all
then-
are all in what?
41.
41.
And that
Who's in
includes
23?
23 is the directors.
3 directors and assistant director.
You just increased $100,000.
And yes, it's actually not an
Nice.
official position.
The
And
assistant
it's also
director.
our admins in that function.
Yeah, we really didn't add a position. Kelly Dyer, instead of going from being a full-time coach traveling in the district, she was then reassigned here. So she's going to support and serve as an assistant director here on the Tyler campus, but also having a dual role to coach. So instead of looking at hiring an additional admin or additional administrator on the Tyler campus to support the younger students, we took her position and basically broke it down to where she'll be supporting the younger grades as an administrator and then also a coaching role.
So
Whereas last year she was a full-time coach.
Her salary went from being in 13 to being in 23.
So it was a move of salary, but not an added position. position.
And also keep in mind that these aren't just salaries. These are when they travel and they go to a conference, it's fringe, all their benefits, everything. So it's not just salaries and wrapped up into these like supplies. Number 23 includes, general office supplies to run their office, to run their campus, paper and, file cabinets and things like that.
So it's not just their salaries in 23. It's
Correct.
everything.
It's their
that is
travel,
tied
it's their
to them.
salary. Yes, their professional development.
Yes.
Yes.
Who-
Yes, the
What
admins.
is the definition of admin from the state?
Well,
But
I
are
think
you
when they're
looking
looking
at
at
admin, like a
I'm just wondering what-
receptionist,
like,
or are you
well,
looking
I don't
at?
know.
when they say administrative cost ratio, they're looking at district administrative. They're not looking at each individual campus. And so
all
21
the other schools don't put principal salaries in.
They wouldn't be if they're in 23.
Is that, I don't know, is that commonplace?
Yes,
Right,
20,
like
yes.
all my budget, all my stuff when I was a principal, it came out of 23. Yes.
So.
So her
that is
salary
not
as
in
a
the-
building
so
principal
The state
now.
doesn't look at building principals as being administrative costs.
They don't look at them as being as
And
district.
they're looking at
administrative
administrative costs as your overall school operations from the district perspective. How many people are you employing at the district to run your multiple campuses? You obviously need somebody at each campus. They want to know how many people are you employing at your district to then run those
costs. The
campuses.
reason that they look at that so closely is because there's a lot of districts that have too many chiefs. Basically.
No, I get
There's
that,
too
but
many people at the
Why are the
district
principals not chiefs?
because they're assigned to a campus. The state wants to look at how many people are assigned off of the
This is just
campus
central
to
office?
support.
Yes,
Central.
which is
Yes.
41, and then technically 21 is our director of special programming, which is basically encompasses all three campuses. All of our GT, our SPED, or not SPED, but ESL, Title I, those types of things are all wrapped up into like a special programs. So, I mean, think of it as like a small campus like us, which is 3 campuses versus a large campus that has 100 campuses. If you have one superintendent running 100 campuses, that's different than one superintendent running 3 campuses. Same thing of having a special programs director. A special programs director can run 3 campuses. If you had 100 campuses, you might need more than one special program, or a special program coordinator and an assistant special program coordinator, because they couldn't manage all 100 districts or campuses and make sure they were doing what they needed to do. You would need multiple people. So when you look at the cost ratio of that, when you spread out 100 campuses, you have a lot more students. So your 11 is going to be extremely high, right? So your cost ratio for a campus like that, where they have multiple people in roles at the district office, their cost ratio is going to be the same as us with having one person for 3 campuses. In fact, we may be a little on the high side because, like she said, we do only have 3 campuses.
And it's small.
And we have, and yeah. So the state's looking at the district level. How many people are you putting in charge of the district to oversee your campuses? Like I said, you have to have somebody oversee each campus because you have parents and kids there. So those people are kind of like a given, like they're expected. You have to have somebody to run the campus. Where at the district level, they want to know, are you employing too many people at the district to then oversee those people?
That's where the schools have gotten into trouble, and not just charters, ISDs overall have been questioned to look at how many people are being supported by the budget that are not basically assigned to the campus. They're not teaching on the campus. They're not a principal on the campus. They're basically at an administrative office. And again, our biggest thing and the challenge that we face is having 3 schools in 3 counties and still being small. There's no way to get around it.
You said that Tyler had a assistant director?
Right.
But Palestine, Longview do not at this point.
So we decided that with the addition of adding K through 2nd on Tyler, we just added 2nd on Palestine and 2nd on Longview. With this new addition, this is all new to our district. So developing PBL and incorporating PBL into those smaller grades and also bringing in those smaller grades is just a new arena for all of us. And so with that addition, we decided instead of really hiring an additional position, like keeping our coach and hiring additional positions, we transitioned Kelly Dyer into really being a part-time coach, part-time assistant to support those smaller grades. Because we know the smaller grade, younger students, parents they're gonna need more support. Those younger students are gonna need support. And really, we just really need someone to oversee that very closely as we transition into these younger grades. It's a whole nother arena of expectations and requirements when you start supporting younger students.
And she could really help support all of the campuses.
Correct.
No.
Because there's not enough, in my mind, there's not enough students at the other schools to really have two administrators. I run
So
a
next year we
school of
probably
900
expect
kids,
that
you
to be
know.
the case, if we go K.
What we would like to transition into is looking at, instead of having coaches in the district that still travel, we would really like to look at having a teacher or a coach on each campus that can support teachers, that has the expertise in PBL, but also has expertise in a content area that can remain on the campus. We spend a lot of money and time traveling. And so if we could look at identifying a teacher, and we're really kind of piloting that here in Tyler this year. Mr. Weaver is going to be primarily focused, or he will be primarily focused here on Tyler campus. So his area of expertise is going to be math. So he's going to be strongly supporting math, as well as you have Kelly Dye on the campus, who will be in a dual role of an administrator, but also a coach. She has the strong science as well as the strong PBL. When you look at Longview, we have Samantha Rector, who she actually replaced Betsy McClendon. Ms. McClendon moved out of state. So Samantha Rector will primarily be on Longview and Palestine. She will be supporting math as well as PBL. Mrs. Peterson will be traveling to all three campuses, supporting to ensure that the model's being implemented with fidelity. So she'll be in with science teachers, math teachers, reading ELA teachers, really looking to see is our instruction aligned with our model.
So those positions are paid out of instruction, right? 11?
Which
13.
13.
the coaching?
Oh,
Or-
yeah.
Yes, 13.
Okay, so they don't increase the leadership or the administrative cost.
Mm-mm.
What made up the most of our $500,000 difference in instruction?
That was devices, technology,
New teachers.
new teachers.
How many new teachers did we get?
Well, we added
we added-
3 positions in top,
And 2 on the other.
K first, second, no, 4, excuse me, I keep saying 3. You had four positions in Tyler, and then 2 on the other 2 campuses.
Well, it's just the
that
K1
added
and
it.
2 is all we add.
Okay.
So it's just 5 new positions throughout the district.
So with French, what is that actually? Is it about,
You're looking at 42.5 plus 25 or 35% for fringe.
we have to figure in 35% French. So if you look at that times that, that's several $100,000. just
And then
for that.
technologies in
And
11.
technology. Replacing these iPads, when you go in and you purchase
Oh, and dual credit.
technology, you know that within
Yeah,
about
dual
5 or 6 years,
Dual
you're gonna
credit.
have to budget to replace it.
Your dual credit
More
costs are
dual
also.
credit costs too.
Yes.
And an increase in supplies, curriculum items and that kind of stuff.
Our dual credit cost,
Oh,
what did we
yes,
figure
for
it
the
out?
K1, 2
$155.
All
Our dual
those
credit
expensive
cost right
items.
now is estimated at $155,000. When we incorporate the virtual schools, we build our own courses. Those will be our courses. We will not have to pay that $155,000. So next year, when we look at the budget, if we are in a position to start the virtual school, which if we don't start it, we will not be able to start it. I mean, it has to be, yes, there's a window.
Can you tell me a little bit about that virtual school to where there was money that was obtained? Am I correct?
We didn't get it.
No.
We actually lost, I think, I can't remember exactly how many points, but it was a substantial amount of points because we were not implementing in the fall. So you submitted your grant. Those that were implementing in the fall got an additional like 25 or 30 points
Priority
on top
points,
of their
yeah.
score. So we scored very well. But when you give someone else 25 points after they've all been scored, for those that are implementing immediately in the fall, we weren't approved for the grant. So when we went back and talked to the Charter School Association and talked to the grant reviewers, they said, we encourage you guys to reapply. We're actually going to award the grant earlier, and it's around $600,000 to $800,000.
I thought it was 400,000.
I think it's about
No.
6.
Yeah. And so we plan on reapplying. This year we will be eligible for the additional points. So, we don't see much of our application changing other than we'll be eligible for the additional points. When we went in and added our additional points to what we reviewed, we would have been approved.
So you said we put money in this budget for that?
In the event that we do not get the grant, then we've got to come together and decide, do we want to move forward with the virtual school? And if we do, we've got about $100,000 to do so, give or take.
Is that in the instruction category?
Yes.
Yes,
But not to
It's
create a
sitting there.
virtual school, right? Or to create a virtual school, is that what you're saying?
to develop we will actually
develop the
have to
curriculum.
develop the
Okay,
curriculum.
it's already there, the
Uh-huh.
money's
Yes.
already there. Got it.
Yes,
Okay.
and so if we get the grant, that $100,000 then goes down to our rollover, basically. I mean, it's, like I said, there's a lot of padding in here. I mean, there's $100,000 sitting right there just in the event we don't get the grant.
But if you're going to hire somebody to develop the curriculum, you've got to pay them. So you got to have money to pay them to develop the curriculum to get the school going.
Is that what the plan is?
Yes, we will actually probably have to look at hiring a director or someone to support that virtual school. That is a whole nother arena.
What's the timeline?
We have to implement, we have 1 year. So we have to implement fall 18-19.
And the grant application, I think, is due in around Christmas.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
And that's something, again, we'll have to come to,
Is this going to be board approved again, or does it roll the approval rolls over?
the board's already approved.
That's
the
right.
chart. Yeah,
The expansion.
yes, the charter's already been approved.
That
So
wasn't
it's
just-
just
that
sitting
wasn't
there on
just for-
hold.
That wasn't just for 1 year, and we go through that process.
No.
Correct. It expires if we do not implement fall of 18-19. So if we decide, after looking at, let's say that we come to the table and we don't get the grant, then we will probably have to make a decision, do we want to move forward with the virtual school or not? But we're going to have more and more students enrolled in dual credit. Dual credit is costing us, like I said, this year, for this budget alone, there's $155,000 just to pay dual credit costs.
And that's 9th, 10th, 11th. When you
That's
get
right.
12th graders, it's going to be even higher.
And if you even add 2 sections, think of the money that you could save if you have 2 sections of 9th graders in the future, 2 sections of 10, 2 sections of 11, 2 sections of 12, and you're not having to pay the university dual credit costs. You're going to save a substantial amount of money. Could be, a good $250,000 or $500,000.
Because the theory is that if you become the virtual high school, then the dual credit costs do not have to be paid to the university because they're getting the dual credit through the virtual high school.
Correct. We could use those courses for them to take to get their dual credit.
The
So
courses,
who grants that dual credit? So UT Tyler granting the dual credit?
No, it's the Texas Virtual School Network. They have to review our courses and then approve them. I'm correct on that, right?
it's,
I know that they have to review the courses.
yes, they do have to review the courses, but I do believe the university is still issuing the
Right.
college credit
The
portion.
college credit
Um,
from the
And there's,
It's a transcript from UT Tyler.
yes, it would all be implemented with an MOU of the university, and the university being on board of their professors assisting in creating the curriculum to where the course is basically kind of dual owned, I guess you could say.
We'll have to budget money to pay professors to develop courses and things like that. It's not just the virtual school's not just, it has costs to it. Even though you don't have facility costs and things like that, there are costs, within that are embedded. Paying professors, paying a director, paying,
Not to mention the online school will actually generate income in that when the students actually complete their course and we get paid for their completion, we don't have the facilities costs for all of those students and things. So,
And
but we
it
don't
is a
get paid
smaller
daily
amount.
attendance. We get paid by completion. So if 10 sign up and only 9 pass, you only get paid for the 9, not the 10th. So but there is funding associated with that too. So not only would we not be paying, but we would also be generating funding for all the kids that are signed up too.
So the primary responsibility of the person that leads this school will be basically staying in contact with teachers that will be across could be across the state, professors. I mean, we hope that majority of the professors are here at UT Tyler, but let's say that we have a course that they're not. It also will be staying in communication with the teacher that, the high school teacher that is also supporting the course, because we want to make sure the course is not only aligned at the university level, but also aligned with the state standards, the TEKS. And then also monitoring attendance. So that person is going to be heavily involved in communicating and talking with students to say, I see you have not submitted your assignment. Where are you at on that? Because again, we get paid not on scores, we get paid our attendance, we get paid on completion. So we definitely don't want students enrolling and not completing. That affects our accountability. We'll get an accountability rating, a separate rating for that high school.
Do we know if that grant that was submitted last year had any agreements with institutes of higher education?
I'm not sure exactly how it read. I mean, it's been, we wrote it.
Do you mean the money coming from?
It seems to me that a lot of the motivation for all this is so that we don't have to pay the universities.
Well, no, there's a huge amount of money that could be obtained through the virtual school that would help us generate income to develop better facilities across the district.
No, I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about dual credit. The dual part is that there is an institute of higher education on board. And the creation of the course by somebody with credentials is one thing, but universities make money off of enrollment of dual credit students.
I think the idea of not having to pay the university anything isn't necessarily correct, in that there has been discussions with the university already about an MOU that would have us basically paying substantially less. We would, or that there would be some agreement of that this is something that the university wants to be involved in as well for other, for maybe recruiting purposes or other things, so that the agreement is in their favor as well. So they're willing to let us have them as the university side of the component and issuing the credits to the students and having their name on it for whatever benefit it may be in the end when we do the MOU, that whether it be we do it at a substantially less of a cost to us, or whether it's from a recruitment standpoint or whatever the agreement ends up being. There already has been discussion, and the universities already knows that we're looking in this direction. So it's not like we're trying to cut the university out. It's that we're trying to work with them to come up with an agreement that's feasible for all of us.
So the details definitely have to be worked out, but the big picture has been reviewed with the president, and he's on board with it.
Previous president or current?
Our current president.
Any other questions about the budget?
Call the question.
No other questions? Comments about the budget? Just okay. Do we have a motion to approve the proposed budget?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll say
All in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
I would like, because of our previous conversation, it may be good on the next agenda to have a discussion amongst the board to see if any proposals that are submitted related to the said virtual school, that the board has a chance to look at that before it is submitted.
Any proposals as far as
Anything, because a proposal is a submission to say this is what we're going to do. And I know our entity, our body, said that we want to expand into being a virtual school, and we voted on that, but we never saw the plan.
Okay.
Oh, so the
No, that's okay. Absolutely. So basically, we can note that we begin to develop the plans. A draft of the plans will be shared with the board.
I just say that the next board meeting might be good for us as a board to vote to say that I'd like to discuss, if you will, just this. I'd like to see proposals before we put a signature to a page and submit it.
Okay.
That our board has looked at it and says that we can do those things that are planned.
I am 100% okay with that, because I definitely don't want to be in a situation where we're doing anything that the board or the community or the school doesn't support. That doesn't help my position at all. That doesn't help your position. And so, our goal is to have a strong relationship. So open communication is key. Absolutely. And I will tell you, there are so many things about the virtual school there that has not been decided yet.
There's also a recent study done by UT System that the results will come out soon about dual credit students and this, that, and the other. That would be helpful to know.
I hadn't reviewed it. Absolutely, yes.
Okay, our next item is the request to approve waiver for teacher portal of Texas Assessment Management System.
I'm gonna let Weaver discuss about the two
Yeah,
waivers, since these are.
Mr. Weaver can talk about these two.
Okay, might have been 2011, the state provided a mechanism for data to be shared through this Texas Assessment Management System, through this portal. And, but districts often use another product. As long as it meets all of those requirements, things like having data available to core subject teachers on the first day of instruction, assessment data. And what the region centers often have certain products, and they assure that it meets those requirements. In our case, we like to use DMAC through Region 7. So the portal system is out there as a guarantee that data is available to teachers everywhere. If you as a district have another product, which is very popular, many people use DMAC, Eduforia through the region centers, and they may venture out on their own, then they have to kind of certify that they've met all those requirements as part of the waiver. And anyway, so this is a waiver to say that we guarantee that our teachers do have all this, and to help with that guarantee that it's sanctioned by the region center. Product in this case is DMAC. Our teachers are very active and want to get quickly to that and see how their kids did this summer. As soon as the results came in from the summer administration, those teachers were looking at how did my kid do? Did he grow a little bit? Did he actually pass? And all that. So that's what the waivers are.
Any questions?
Is that both?
The second one then is
I think
the
you
law basically said.
You have to prove them one at a
sorry,
time.
Right.
No, sorry.
Go ahead, no, go ahead.
I can explain the second one.
Yeah, explain it. No,
Yeah, both separate.
Okay, so the second one,
Waiver for timeline
Yes.
for instruction.
yeah, so basically, specifically for SSI children, like kids that are in 5th and 8th grade, they have the opportunity to take tests 3 times. And they take that third administration in the summer. Well, if they again fail, you're required to immediately, as you are for the other 2 administrations, provide accelerated instruction. We use the word accelerated instruction, something to address that student's needs. And you're required by law to do that immediately in the summer. It's almost like the summer school that we're going on. Now, this waiver allows for schools that have established and can guarantee that they are going to postpone that a bit. They're going to start it in the beginning of the school year. They're going to do something intensive during the first 6 weeks that must be completed in the first 6 weeks of school, and then a plan that continues throughout the year that supports that child. So basically, that's what we have instead of pulling them in for some summer school. And going back up a little bit, when they maybe have failed the first administration, we find those results 2 weeks later. We immediately move them in the next year in school. They take a second administration. It takes about 2 weeks before we get those results back in. If they fail that second one, they come in for the first 2 weeks of summer. As soon as school's out, they spend 2 weeks up here, 4 hours a day, reading and or then they take that third administration. Rather than pull them in immediately again, we defer that until a few weeks later when school starts. We immediately identify those students and have different forms of intervention for them more intensely during the first 6 weeks and ongoing throughout the school.
Do we do if you fail a third time, this is a promotion year, you have to go through a series of teacher group kind of to meetings to determine if the child can move forward.
Well, so the way the law reads is you automatically are retained. The law writes it that way, so that you are automatically retained by law. At that point, it takes a parent to say, I would like to challenge that situation. And then the committee can use other data and say, yes, they failed this 3 times, but there's possibly other information. They review that information. That committee has already met 3 times. They've met after the first time, well, maybe more than that, but legally and minimally, they've met 3 times to review the given data related to that child. So in that final one, that committee can override the retention and promote or replace them in the next grade with services.
So that's where this comes in?
Yeah.
So these are for kids who still get
They're-
promoted and don't get promoted.
Well,
So it's like
it
what
wouldn't
now?
matter. It wouldn't matter if
Whether
the
they're
child
promoted or
was
not.
retained or was promoted by the committee.
If
They've
they
shown
fail
that
that,
much indication of being at risk. You've got 3 times to approach this test with intervention. It's trying to say you got to guarantee this kid gets some help.
All right, so what are we waiving?
Waiting doing it immediately. Instead of having to turn around and do that summer school like before they come back to school, instead of doing a summer school intervention, a 2-week intervention or something before school starts, this waives that requirement by the law, allows you to waive it and start it on the first day of school.
they've already done partial summer school. So these
Yeah,
are
yeah,
kids
yeah,
that have
that-
already
Yeah, they did
been
the summer
through
Yeah, a
school
lot of
between the
times.
second and third
Yes,
administration,
yes.
and this is they failed the third.
So most schools that are year-round schools, they don't have to file for this waiver. But schools that have a summer, file for the waiver. Because again, you don't have
Have
the
we done
staff.
that in the past?
Always,
We've always,
always.
okay. So
Yes.
it's
And
something that we-
traditional public schools do not pull the kids
Again,
in July to, they wait until the beginning of the year.
they file for this waiver.
Yeah,
Both
by-
of both
by
of
the
these
way,
are
we've done-
renewals.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
done these waivers every single
Yes.
year.
Yeah,
And we
these they're
don't
just
have to-
expiring.
We don't have to do this for the EOCs. EOCs are a different category, to where they have to just keep taking it till they pass. There's no, you get to graduate because of the meeting of teachers.
Oh, there is that now.
Never mind.
Yes.
I retract my statement.
Yes, these are both actually renewals. We've had these; they just are expiring, and they will no longer be in effect for next year. So, in order for them to be in effect, we have to get them reapproved.
Any other questions?
I make a motion to approve the first waiver of teacher data portal and use DMAC. I'll second.
All in favor?
I make a
Motion.
motion to approve the timeline for accelerated instruction.
I know.
Who seconded? I'm sorry. I'm just kidding.
All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Now we move to our informational items. Superintendent.
All right, so, it's been a busy summer, so I just want to take an opportunity to share a lot of things that we've done. And so first of all, we'll start with any financial updates.
Just your budget is there, and we received 3.4 million revenue, spent 3.7 million.
All right, the next thing that we want to talk about is projected enrollment. Our directors are doing our parent meetings this week on all 3 campuses, so that's the reason they're not here today in attendance. So we are having elementary, middle school, and high school students come in throughout the week to do enrollment paperwork, meet parents, ask any basic questions that need to be addressed before the first start of school year. So looking at enrollment, we have included that in the board packet. It's towards the very back. Again, this is projected. I do want to send a shout out to our admins, directors, Ms. Pryor. These ladies track this so closely, working with parents to make sure that we're in compliance with our lottery as well as acceptance. So if you look at this, I do want to say overall, we have the strongest waiting list than we've ever had in the history of the district. So we're very excited about that across all 3 campuses. So if you look at just our projected enrollment, we have provided you a document that shows you exactly the number of students as well as returning as well as the wait list. So I will go over all of that. I do want you to know right now projected in Tyler, we'll have 309 students. That's going to be supporting kindergarten through 11th grade. In Longview, we have projected 231. That's going to be supporting 2nd through 11th grade. And then in Palestine, we have a total of 221. That is 2nd through 11th grade, with a total of 261 students in the district K through 11th grade. Again, our budget goes off at 230. And we're already
Seven.
Seven. Am I saying 2 every
Yeah,
time?
yeah. I was like, wait a minute, what?
2 to 7, sorry. So 761 is our projected enrollment. We built the budget off, and I said 2 the other day when I emailed you. It's just in my brain, and you went 7, not 2. We couldn't even live off of 2. 761 is our projected, and the budget is built off of 730. So again, some of the strongest waiting lists, you have a chance to review those very closely and see where there are campuses that have very strong waiting lists.
Do we have 2 instructors in 6th and 8th grade, or 2 teachers?
Yes. 2 sections.
In Ireland?
2 sections.
The reason you have the waiting list is just because the class size is maxed out on those particular ones.
Yes, ma'am.
This morning we had parents that had students that are on the waiting list coming up to fill out paperwork in hopes that somehow they could squeeze in and accept it. Fortunately, there's just.
Yeah.
We've never had this strong of a waiting list in the history of the district. Parents calling, basically begging. We have had several scenarios of students that left our district last year, went to another district for various reasons, sports, extracurricular, travel. You know, everybody has their own reason and story, that were very strong students and called back to come back for next year because they were just, after looking at options, they really want to be back in our system, and we don't have an opening for them because that spot's already been taken. So it's heartbreaking when you have such great, we've lost lost a student that wants to return because they loved our environment, and then we can't accept them. So
When we were at the Charter Summit, one of the sessions that I was in, they were talking about, their waiting list being really strong. And they said that they found that their waiting list being really strong helped the retention in their classes because everybody was afraid to leave because they knew there was 200 other kids on the list. And they said that waiting list is really, important in keeping kids at your campus because they don't want to leave. They know they'll be back at the bottom of the list again.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you have the flexibility to go try something else and know you can come back, then it's human nature to say, I'll go try it for a little while and then go back if it doesn't fit. But if you know, and that's something we will be communicating with parents when they decide to make the choice in the event they do to withdraw. I think it's very important that the director be very open and honest with them to say, look, we just want to make sure that you're aware that, we have 3 students or 15 students on the waiting list. As soon as you complete this paperwork and officially withdraw, we will be contacting these students to take your spot. And again, I think that's a great point.
Yeah, she made the point to stay focused on your marketing because the bigger you build your waiting list, the stronger your current population will stay. So she says, just because you're full and you have a few on your waiting list, she says your marketing is still important because you want that list to grow and grow and grow.
And that's key to our budget, guys. I mean, we want to retain students. We closely monitor that every single month. Sometimes weekly looking at those numbers. And also monitor why students leave. And it's really kind of somewhat all over the map. I mean, you have your traditional movers that move because of, parents relocating because of a job. Then we have the situation where kids just don't feel comfortable or it's not a good fit for them academically. And then you have your situations where kids are in us traveling from everything to parents being split. We still have parents that are taking one child to one campus and another child to this campus, and it's just too much. And so again, it's really, we have tracked it so closely that we really can't narrow it down to any one solid thing or reason why we have families leaving, other than we notice that there are certain grades that we tend to lose a larger amount of students. So when we look at a transition, 8 to 9, we tend to have a stronger decrease of students not being retained because of, again, that opportunity to go to another high school that has extracurricular and things like that, as well as in the middle school transitions. We have a lot of flexibility there as well.
Do you have many parents who would look and say, okay, for instance, there might be an opening in the Longview. There's no openings in the Longview 6th grade, but there is in the Tyler. So I will commute my student to Tyler until there is an opening in Longview.
Not at this point. I think that as we become stronger, I definitely think that that will happen, and this is just my opinion. I've said all along, one of the biggest advantages to our system that sets us apart from a traditional ISD and other charters is our dual credits, is our connection to the university. And so the amount of money that a parent can save over a high school career is substantial. And so I can think about how a parent, if they know there's an opening here in Tyler and their kid can take dual credit classes for free, it might be worth their drive in the future.
Yeah.
But I think that all of that's going to become stronger, and I think it's even going to become even stronger when we start graduating that first class.
So then that parent, let's say that might live in Hallsville, drives their child to Tyler. Can they stay on the Longview waiting list? So as soon as there's an opening in Longview, they move right over?
I would say
They have such a demand.
Yeah.
It's really,
Oh,
it's
yes.
selling that.
And those are the little questions that we are a member of the Texas Charter School Association. I have legal counsel on text, email, phone. So anytime there's a situation like that, because we did have a situation where a student moved. So we had this, and I had to run this by legal. We had a student move to Palestine. Palestine's grade was full. They thought just because they were in the IA district that they were automatically accepted, enrolled in the Palestine campus. But Palestine was at max capacity.
And they had a waiting list.
And they had a waiting list. And so when we called legal said, absolutely not. Those are 2 separate campuses. Those are 2 separate
They went to the
campus
bottom.
numbers in 2 separate counties.
So they would just have to stay on the Longview waiting list until their time pops
They
out.
are currently on the Palestine waiting list, and they didn't even get priority to go to the top. So yeah,
So,
they're-
but
Well, and if that
but
virtual
answer
high
then,
school
that-
comes into
that would
play,
say a child that's in Tyler could potentially be on the waiting
You could
list.
stay on the waiting list in Longview.
Because they're different.
a child that's traditionally in Tyler could go and
On
put
the-
themselves on the waiting list there. Yeah, I could say
since
that.
they're 2 separate waiting lists, I would say yes, yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
Going to her comment about the dual credit, if we get the online school, they wouldn't have to necessarily come and enroll here. They would just enroll in the online school.
But again, that virtual school and IA are 2 separate schools, and
Yeah.
that's something that we have strongly
So
stressed.
it's not gonna be,
because-
it's gonna have its own district number? Or
Correct.
Yes.
On campus, excuse me. on
Not
campus.
campus
It's
number.
part of
Okay,
the
yeah.
Innovation Academy district, that it
District,
would have it
campus.
is a 11th, 12th grade campus. So students cannot be dual enrolled. You cannot take classes from the virtual school and classes from and be a member of Tyler Iowa.
I think they can take, the way the law reads is that they can take like up to a certain number of Texas virtuals and still be enrolled with you. And you're like the receiving district or whatever, and you sign them up and they can take like a random course here and there. But if they're going full time, which is 4 courses, will be 4 courses in our system if we do that, I think. If they were trying to enroll that way, then they would be actually a student of that virtual school, and they would be under that entity number, and they would be taking 4 classes, which would be full-time online
So
enrollment.
potentially a student that is at the traditional public school, that school could pay the virtual school for that one student to take that
If
one
we
class?
sign up for them
For
to
them
be
to
able
do
to
that.
that, and I don't know if that's part of the
I don't think
plan.
that's the plan, Ron.
Okay, so we're just gonna have full-time students.
Yes, 11th and 12th grade students that are TSI complete could enroll in the virtual school. And there's, again, so many details that have to be worked out.
Yeah.
And this is- So we're not only adding K first, second on some campuses, we will be developing a virtual school as we start the school year in preparation to open it in the fall of 2018. So
What's
we're
the
always-
criteria?
We're always growing.
What's the criteria for adding students? Because there's 24 fourth graders on waiting list in Longview. And there's 26 in the class. And then there's 25 in fifth grade. Why not enroll all of those on the waiting list and make another class?
Facilities.
And
So
a
that's why
teacher.
What's the,
Yes.
it's the, we don't have the
So
space.
yeah, let's be honest about the pools.
Yes.
Do we have waivers for the 22 cap or the?
Yes, that's right.
We do, and what is that number now?
Um,
Is it 26?
The cap? I thought it was 20, the state cap is 22.
We approved something.
yes, we
last year.
approved that.
Oh, that's right, we did approve a waiver too.
Is that the class that we're gonna actually have an 8 in, that 26? Because looking at that size, is that the one, Jacqueline, that we went down to one section?
We didn't go down to one section. It was that large last year as well, and we had an 8 in there, and I think y'all approved to have another 8 for this coming year.
Yeah, and they
It
rolled.
was,
Yeah,
it was a situation where
That was last year.
we had students that were not figured in, and as we do this more, we become better.
They were
One thing that we did not do a couple years ago was when a student was retained, we did not take in consideration that slot. So these kids that, just for example, that Mr. Weaver, our lottery is held in April. These kids that are taking a third administration, they're kind of on the fence. You know, I can't really say they're going to be retained. I can't really say they're going to be promoted. I mean, their score is going to determine that, as well as a committee can overrule that.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to keep.
we
it
were
in your
doing the
mind.
lottery
What
and
if they
filling
all-
it to the
yes.
capacity, and then we would have 3 kids retained, and now you got 25 plus 3 kids that got retained, and you've already accepted in the lottery. So we learned to not fill to the cap at the lottery if you have a grade that with kids on the edge.
Correct, especially
You
in
can
those.
see
grades.
that's the whole returning class from last year. They're all returning. So
Well, and I think too, we found that happens mostly in those younger grades, and because they're new to our school setting. And I think the idea too of adding the K1 and 2 is that we're going to be growing them up into that testing environment, to where by the time they come into 3rd grade, it's not their first year with us taking a STAR test. They'll have been with us, hopefully.
And you could see, as remember previous conversations, we were kind of concerned whether we would have a K first, second, if we would have enough students going into that start of school year, being a new grade for us. And you can see we already have a waiting list. Look at 2nd grade, the waiting list in Tyler. So facilities is also an item that I have that I wanted to just briefly discuss, because facilities impacts us as far as, again, when you start building these strong waiting lists and you get up to 50 to 100, that's a lot of money that is sitting there that you could easily support your budget. And again, your administrative costs are not going up. And so it becomes very encouraging to begin to look at other facilities and opportunities. So just to talk here in Tyler, to talk about some of the renovations that are occurring, and note that all of our renovations that take place are approved by the university. We work closely with them. So here in the classroom that you're in, this classroom was not used last year. So renovations have taken place here in this building. It is the plan to have 2 high school classrooms here in this facility, as well as our admin, our housed here, as well as the cafeteria, and then we use the auditorium area for PE and assemblies and things like that. So as far as here, they've done renovations to, I think, these rooms, these 3 rooms
total.
here.
And the rest.
Also, renovations are taking place over at the main IA campus. There were several classrooms that had carpet in it. We're removing all the carpet in that facility. That would basically allow us not to have any carpet in any of our facilities across the district. carpet, food, kids just don't go together. And so, that we were able to remove all the carpet out of the Palestine campus. So, this was kind of the last phase. It was supposed to be completed last summer, but timing, and so this was a priority for this year. And so I was told at 5 a.m. this morning that all that carpet will be taken out and be ready to go by the start of the school year. So they're working on that now. So that's kind of the major renovations that have taken place here on the Tyler campus. As far as the Longview campus, Longview is at max capacity. We even looked at trying to bring in a second grade. Considered even having additional grades because of Longview's waiting list. So we went over there and walked the campus looking at, okay, who is going to be housed in this classroom, how many students, from what time to what time. Trying to support adding additional class as well as which would just be one additional teacher, and facility-wise, it just doesn't work. So looking at next year, for the next year, 2018-19, in order to add K1, we will need to bring in another portable facility or another facility to support those students or utilize more of the university. We will already have, Jacqueline, correct me, 2 classrooms over at the university. So we're already utilizing some of the university facility there at the Longview campus to support our needs with our students. So that's something, again, that we've had been in conversation with Dr. Tidwell, our president, and other key individuals talking about our facility needs, our current enrollment, our projected enrollment, our plans for the future. As far as Palestine, I will tell you there's going to be some communication that goes out within the next probably 2 or 3 days regarding a change with our facilities in Palestine. I've been asked not to reveal that information until it's communicated to key individuals in the community and on the board at the university. But there will be some things that will come out within the next 2 or 3 days. As soon as I get the permission to communicate that to you all, you will be the first to know, and then I will communicate to parents. But again, I've been asked, I was in a meeting yesterday with President Tidwell, as well as other key individuals looking at the Palestine campus and making some changes there that are going to have to be made based on we had a current fire inspection report and looking at what we're going to need to do to support making those improvements to support our students.
You said improvements, that's key. We're heading in the right direction.
I think I could say that I think you all will be very pleased with the direction that we're going to be taking with that campus.
I would take all my questions.
I'm not. I cannot.
I
cannot say that everyone is going to be pleased, but I can say that I think overall that the board will be pleased and the community will be pleased with the direction. And I really appreciate the support of President Tidwell in making this improvement because it's not an easy one to make to support. So anyway, so that's kind of where we're at on that with facilities. So we've got things happening across the district looking at those improvements. But the biggest thing that I will share is since the first time that I met and had an opportunity to talk with President Tidwell, his goal is to have brick and mortar campuses for these 3 facilities and in the very near future. He's a very intelligent man. He realizes that with the growth of the IA only supports growth at the university. And so, that's a win-win for everyone. So I think that we will see that. And again, that's just my opinion based on conversations. So I had a chance to talk about facilities, but we do any questions that I will answer what I can answer.
I'm curious, when we look at the budget or the current state, is there rent charged by the university that would then increase if we say add another grade? That's more revenue without a lot of overhead. Certainly have to have supplies and iPads and teachers. But would that increase rent paid to the university?
So that's all being discussed right now, because as we continue to utilize additional facilities and things like that, that's something that again, is just being discussed.
But right now, there's no rent paid in the budget.
Yes, there is rent paid under
Yes, I thought you meant, are we going to
maintenance
the
operations?
Yes,
That's the 348, that includes the rent.
yes,
Gotcha.
yes, we
Okay.
do pay rent on our facilities. I apologize, I thought your question was that will they increase our
Well,
rent?
and that was, but,
And
yeah,
I projected
Yeah.
will increase.
which would make
Yeah.
sense, because you're
Yes.
getting money from the students, so.
Correct. I think right now, the biggest thing is that the facilities that we're using need so many improvements that we're kind of partnering those improvements. We pay for, our air conditioning just went out on the elementary campus here at IA Tower. So, we were paying to have that fixed. So we talk through the need, and then we decide who's gonna pay for it. And sometimes the university pays for it, but then sometimes we pay for it, and on top of paying our rent. So I think what they do is they look at what improvements have we made to the facilities and the cost that we've invested in the facilities, and that's why the rent hasn't changed over the last couple of years.
And they look at a lot of too, like the ADA compliance types things that have to be in place, whether we're in the building or not, versus if it's something for our students specifically.
So some of the changes that take place are because of the age student that we have. So, we know we have to make the change if we're gonna occupy that facility, so.
Completely different fire code for
Yes.
elementary kids versus
Exactly.
college kids.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that 51, kind of to answer your question, where it does say maintenance and operations, it is rent, but it's also the maintenance and the any type of the cleaning service.
Utilities.
Yes, those types of things. So it's not all 358 of that is rent per se.
And that's the one thing we're looking at right now is that in a traditional university, they allot X number of hours for custodial. Well, it's a little different when you have K through 11th grade students occupying a facility versus professors occupying a facility, and college students. So that's something I've been in conversation with the university about, the need to have ongoing custodial support on the campus, especially during operating hours. And so we haven't come to agreement that it looks like we're actually going to have to pay for. That's when we've got a little bit of pad in our maintenance and operation, because my key is we don't have the best facilities, but they better be clean. So, least we can do is keep our facilities clean. And so that's been my voice this year, talking with the university. I've been very frustrated. It's just that I'm in a very awkward situation. And I've shared this openly. I came from a traditional ISD and I grew up under a traditional ISD with a traditional superintendent, that everything really filtered through that superintendent, and it basically boiled down to their decision. The board needs to know that I don't make all the decisions. Oftentimes the decisions, I present my side, my case, and a decision is often made for us that I have to inherit, good or bad. But you need to know that it's just, in a traditional ISD, if the custodians aren't taking care of things that are needed on the facilities, they ultimately answer to that superintendent, and that superintendent can fire them. That whether they're a individual or if they contracted with a company. Guys, I can't. All I can do is send emails and pictures and really become somebody's thorn.
And we have.
And I have to support the school. And my voice has been, I don't have the best facilities. My parents walk into our facilities. All I can say is I expect for them to be clean. And when they're not, I need answers. And so I think you guys understand that. But again, it's very different. And it has been very challenging for me coming from a traditional ISD to step in this role and know that I have to address parents that come to me and say, I'm very concerned about a bathroom or a hallway or a classroom, and I really have to give them a political answer to say, I'm doing the best I can to support it or to address it. So, but please, if you are the voice for your parents, and so if there's concerns that you have, please be open with me and share with me so that I can then be the voice for the school district to then go to the university. That really is my role. We want to be the very best, and I think you're going to see that as we transition into sharing our STAR scores. We're very pleased. And I want to say before Mr. Weaver has a chance to begin, and Ms. Peterson, these results are a direct impact on the quality of our curriculum team, which involves Ms. Peterson and the coaches, the quality of our teachers that are working daily with these students. It's very impressive to see where we've come from over the last 5 years. Mr. Weaver.
So you have a graph on that page. You probably want to annotate it. Again, wasn't necessarily developed fully self-explanatory. So if you look at index 1, there first gives a set of 5 columns that represents the state. I just want to orient you to it, and then you'll see it quickly. That's from the inception of the school. Now, the way I labeled that was the 2012-2013 school. So you see there, and then it's labeled as the 13, that's the testing year. So that was the first year, and you'll see that the state was kind of level there. And then if you look at the IA, and again, this is the district scores. In the 2012 through 2013, you know, obviously it was low, then it grows a little bit. Then you see it up there above the 80s, 85, 85. So what that last graph represents is, by the way, let me be careful about this. This is preliminary data. This is not anything we could even publish. The data the reports will be made public August the 14th.
Preliminary is the 17 score, the blue.
Yes, correct. Yeah, all the other one is the history, yes, correct. So an index, by the way, a couple other notes. In the first 2 years, the school only operated half a day and was developing itself in terms of how it would address getting these types of results. And then in that third year, that third column, we did move to the 215 time. Still less time.
No, I don't think that's accurate. I think the yellow, the third, at the end of the third year, we voted. We were still that first. We were only finished our second year when we were 2 o'clock.
It all runs together to
I
me,
know,
so
I know,
I'm
I
like
know.
trying to.
I think
know
he's
as a
right.
parent,
Yeah,
Okay.
and as my own
you
board,
could, yeah.
that yellow line, that was, we went to 12, but we voted at the end of that academic
That year,
year
you're right,
to go to 2 o'clock the next year. And so the purple and blue
I
were
think
the
you're
only
right.
2 years that we've gone to 215.
I think you're right. And that is interesting
I
because
say that because I voted no.
Yeah,
We were
yes, I
doing
remember.
great,
I do
and
remember.
we could have kept doing it. So
I would say the third year's
I just want to keep saying that.
And we got a new superintendent.
We did get a new superintendent.
Several factors.
several factors going into that yellow.
that-
Sure.
Go ahead, Mitch, what you were saying.
I was gonna say the third year is when content coaches came on board. That's when Dr. Simmons stepped into her role. Curriculum team was formed. All that happened that year.
Data driven, yeah.
So that's the nature of things there. So in index 1, you see a picture of that. The only thing I'll add to that in index 1 as a model for the rest of them is that I made a little call out. The key is up there at the top, where that's the district score of 84 down there for us. It's significant to look at each campus did in contribution to that school. So that says that the Longview campus scored an 89, the Palestine an 87, and the Tyler an 80. So from that point, just to remind you that index 1 is an aggregate of every test that was taken and what percent of tests were passed. And that's at that lowest passing level, that lowest, they call it a new name now, next year's called approaches, but it's still, you might have, for instance, sometimes it's pretty low. I'm just to be honest, I think in College Rule 1, you might have to make it 39% to pass. So some sports you don't have to score very high to pass. But that's what index one is about. How many of your kids are meeting at least that minimal passing score? One other note, the standard for the state was 60. The standard for the state for index one is 60. One other note while we're on index one, and this whole index system, this will be the last time we look at it. Well, we'll look at it again in August when we get the official results. But next year we'll have the A through F system, which is being worked on as we speak. There are committees working on it in the fall, but it'll be new, it'll be different. But one thing will be true about it, to make an A in what will then be called domain one, you will have to have about 90% of your kids pass.
So we would.
60% of your kids recommended, and 30% of your kids advanced. Those are different levels of scores.
We're talking about a small percent.
Right, and it is, at the first year, according to the commissioner, it will kind of fit in a normal curve kind of thing. But his goal is once those standards are set, now that everyone can reach them. Unlike in the past where they keep changing the statistics to where it always kind of keeps that bell curve, it may become more of a criterion-based measurement where everyone legitimately in 5 years from now could make it.
Unless they change it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, everything will change. Every time legislation is in session, but that's. So then index 2, if you look at that, that's considered a thing called progress. They take only math and reading. They match you up if you had a test last year and this year, and saw if you grow a certain amount, and that meant you met. And if you grew a bunch, that meant you exceeded. They throw all that into a formula and then give you a score that you see how the state's been doing with this sense of progress. By the way, I cannot say that number like I can index one. I can't say that means 38% did something. It's not that. It's a score. It roughly correlates with about 60% of the students meeting progress. And we could talk more about that at some other time if you want to do. But the state says you can either meet index 1 or index 2. So if you were in this district that just barely were getting 50% of your kids pass, but you were showing progress, you could get credit.
Right.
So, by the way, the standard for that one, I'm going to look them up. Standard for index 2 for the district would have been 22 as a score. And for any given of our campuses would only be 17. So the difference between whether you
And that's the percent of students.
100%.
No,
It's not,
Yeah, it's just a score. This is just a score. Yeah.
but it's based on.
It's based off percentages, and it's bad math. But
Well, there's a couple things that are bad.
yeah, no.
But
it's like they get a point if the student met progress, and then if they get an extra point if they exceeded progress. So it's like a student could count in both meet, met, and exceeded. So it's really.
I haven't looked at it, but is it a standard deviation above a predicted score? Do you know if it's based any on all?
Oh yeah, yes.
It's like if a student is a certain
Yeah.
standard deviation above or
Yes.
below whatever the predicted
Yes.
score is based on a predicted model, that
That's right.
would the state come up with that predicted model?
Yes. And it's per subject, per grade. So like for teachers to figure that out, they can't choose a number and slap it in a spreadsheet. They got to do it for every single subject.
So they give you, like the state gives you, there's a chart out there that tells you for fourth grade reading, they have to increase their score had to increase this number of points. But like you said, it's different.
It's a value added model.
Supposed to be. It's supposed to be a protein that. So index 3 then is about basically it's how you're taking care of your economically disadvantaged students and 1 or 2 of your lowest subpopulations, African American, Hispanic, something where they do some things there and find out if you have who has been the lowest on your campus in the district, and see how they just measure them. But unfortunately, it's not a nice percent number like you could say with index 1. It's more like index 2. You kind of get a point if you pass, then you can get an extra point if you got advanced. And then they change that all into a point system. So on this one, for index 3, the standard to pass the lowest, which by the way, anytime I say that in the new report card, that will equivalently be a D. Basically everybody says I've met the minimum standard all these last 5 years. They basically said I jumped over a D, and no one knew if it was a C or D or A. We don't know. The A through F system will now make that transparent. Because it was always zero. So
You just see that someone passes, you don't really
Yeah.
see what level they passed.
it's like everybody passed. It'd be like we get grades and just said pass fail, and only 5% fail. That would be like our current report card is. Now they're going to change it to like the school year and say, oh yeah, you passed, but you made an A and you made a B. Yes, and that made a lot of people upset. But for the district, the standard is 28, and for campus is 30. So by the way, I'll pause on that, and you can see where we had a little problem as a district in this category in the first year, and barely above it in the second year, and then seemed to be in better territory. And the last index, I should pause on that though. I suppose it is significant. I forgot to follow the same pattern, but you see that the Longview campus scored 59. The Palestine campus scored 55. And the Tyler campus is right there at 33. If you would have taken any of these categories, by the way, if you were to look at that, you'll see if you took the Longview or Palestine campus, they would exceed the state average. That was the only number that represented the district.
Yeah, I wrote Tyler underneath each of
Yes,
those. and I
Tyler
found it
is
first.
driving the numbers down in two ways. Not just that number, but that number represents a larger population of students. So
I was going to have y'all look at why. Tyler may be, same model, all three schools. Is it, could we narrow it down to a student population thing? Can we look at our student populations and determine differences between those populations?
there are some differences.
Look at migration, you look at things like that.
Could be caliber of student. You guys got so many competitive schools here. This is in Palestine. This is a great option. It's just not a lot of private schools.
Yeah, but you get into that, and then your progress scores should be pretty the same. Because it'll narrow down, it'll try to control for whatever the child was prior to. But you're having greater gains as well as greater scores, as well as better achievement gap improvements. And it's just something, I don't know, be interesting to look at it because the numbers are so different.
Well, yeah.
We can move on.
I have a little better cheat sheet that dives into the details a little better. That if I was able to share with you, you'll see some of it. I'll vouch.
Was the standard good?
Yes, the standard on index 3 was 28 for the district and 30 for the campus, our kind of campus. But just to finish this one off, index 4 is supposed to be about, they call it college readiness. Really it means did you meet what they call the recommended score? I love that the commissioner has really respun this whole thing, and it's all on all the new handouts that are going out to parents this year. It's very clear that what we've been talking about is only approaches. Now he puts that language on there. What we used to call passing, he puts the label approaches. And it confuses people because they thought this whole time they're getting passing. There's a big gap between 39 and getting to a 70, which was actually meeting the standard, which we used to call recommended. And we used to call it college readiness. It was really the lowest passing standard we were trying to get to. So the language is cleaning up. That's called it. This one is about who is there. It gets a little complicated though because they don't just say, like index 1, what percent of your population did this thing. They say what population did it in 2 or more subjects. You know, and you may only be taking 2 tests that year. You may only be taking 1 test. You may be taking 3 tests. Some couple grade levels take 4 tests individually. And and to get 2 of those at this level, they are a point in this area.
So, with the new A, B, C, D, F, my understanding is that college readiness goes from being 4 out of a list of 4 to being your domain 1. Has a huge impact on domain 1. That's how it was when it was released back in December. I know it's gone through legislation to adapt
Right, and
it.
it's still open for, still open quite a bit, but I think that part will
The
stay.
domain 1 has a huge impact or emphasis on college readiness. And it's making that at the forefront, which is all fueled by the desire of the state of Texas to have 60% of its population having some type of post-secondary certification degree by 2030.
And if you think of the standard on this one, you'll see where the state is currently and how much work they have to do. The standard right now is 13. And for the district, and 21 for a campus.
Now, is index 4%?
It is not.
And it's not.
Sorry.
Yeah, because I think the percents are closer to the 40% mark of our kids in the state of Texas that are college ready.
That's right. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like the number there is 50.
Right.
It's really about 40% of our population at the state level are college ready.
Right, which would roughly correlate to a 20. No, I'm sorry.
But I just, it's hard to look at these and because we want to think percents.
Yes, I know. So the whole point of this was to see kind of a nice historical context and a comparison to the state. And again, we can get more detail.
So we dig down to look at exactly, where the gaps are, where do we need to make the improvement? Is there a certain grade that we need to support greater on some campuses? Is it a certain subject area? Is it a teacher that we need to provide greater support? But I do want to note that these improvements are because of the dedication of a curriculum team of coaches, Ms. Peterson, her team that are traveling and supporting the teachers consistently, as well as the teachers' work and dedication to be open to our model and supporting it and to take ownership in improving. I can go on and on, and because of the leadership on the campus. You would not have seen this growth without those 3 things, without the curriculum department, strong teacher quality, and the director's leadership on those campuses. If there's one area that I feel strongly that when we do grow, that will grow, is probably our curriculum department, because our model is so different. Every teacher that we hire brand new really has no really true understanding of PBL. Either they come from first year teacher to more of the university of just hearing the word and maybe doing a few lessons with it, as well as coming from a traditional school that didn't support the model. So I think moving forward, that is an area that as our budget increases, that's going to grow. And, teachers have to have the support, and the support has to be ongoing if they're going to embrace the model, or we're going to look just like any other school. And that's the last thing that we want. And so I do want to note that these improvements are directly tied to the work of these departments. Any other questions? That's all I have at this time.
Okay. We have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I make that motion.
Okay. To adjourn the meeting. Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
If you will hang out for just 1 second, after we,
turn that off?
yeah, we can shut that off. I just want to, hold on, Lamb came in late.
Did everybody get a book? I picked these up at the Charter School Summit.